Welcome to a new video and the second part to my series, What Shall I Do With This Thing? This is the series where I take a selection of miscellaneous, purposeless things and turn them into things that are better, both functionally and aesthetically. Hopefully. If you missed part 1 of this series, please feel free to go back and give it a watch. In that episode, I turned these old wooden boxes into this paper mache console table thing. And this week I have a new thing which is ready for the upcycling treatment. This, as I'm sure you can tell, is a large cable reel, and I've had this on my do something with this thing pile for about 2 years now, I think. I found this in the tip area at my work and I grabbed it and excitedly took it home. Since then it's just been chilling in my flat waiting for some sort of transformation, and I've been using it mostly as a footstool in my living room, which is obviously an ideal size and shape for, so I think that that is a good use for it. Only recently actually have I found a secondary use for it, which is kind of just using it as it was originally intended to be used. That is as a reel to wind something around. I made a load of this fabric tinsel a couple of years ago, which I used to decorate at Christmas. And off season, I've been struggling with storage for it. I had it on the shelf in my art room for ages because I was still adding bits to it and working on it. But once it was finished, it was just taking up a lot of potentially useful space for something that I only need to access once a year. So I wanted to move it out of here ideally. Most of this year actually, I have had it strung up in my living room and in my bedroom just to keep it out of the way. After about 6 months of looking at it every day, I have gotten quite sick of the sight of it. So I really just want to put it away somewhere where I don't have to look at it again until December. I was lying on the sofa one day looking up at it, and I genuinely had the thought, wish I had some sort of giant bobbin thing that I could wind this around to keep it out of the way. And then I realised I literally have that exact thing. Why did I not think of this earlier? I mean, I'm glad I've thought of it now, because it just makes a lot of sense. But you know, when you're annoyed at yourself because you could have been doing something clever earlier than when you realised it. I'm using clever in a very generous way there. So now this thing has naturally found its primary and secondary purposes. All I need to figure out now is how to make it look cute. And at the time of filming this, I still do not know what that means for this project. I do already have some design ideas brewing in my head, but I really want to wait to talk about those until things are a little bit more set in stone. And instead, I want to spend today taking some sort of practical first step to get the ball rolling on this project. So I'm going to start by giving this guy a sand and a prime. Let's go. For sanding purposes, we wear our overalls and mask and gloves. I'm only hand sanding because my electric sander broke about 3 years ago and I haven't wanted to replace it, so I do everything by hand. This doesn't need a quality sanding job, to be honest, because a lot of this is actually going to be covered. Actually, I'm pretty sure that almost all of these surfaces won't be readily visible in the finished thing, but I am going to sand and prime all of it anyway. Spending time doing something with my hands always seems to open up my mind a little bit for thinking about concept and design and other things. So regardless of whether this surface actually needs priming, I'm going to do it anyway, and I don't think that it's a waste of time. For lots of us, our making processes aren't always going to feel particularly linear, and that can make it difficult to take a fully logical approach to constructing something. Sitting down, making a plan, noting down each step you need to take to complete that plan, and then taking them off the list one by one in order. That's what my brain wants, but it's not actually how my brain works a lot of the time. My thought processes around making a piece of art are often more like a constellation of different disparate ideas, and it takes time and experimentation to work through and connect some of those dots. Sometimes I can get stuck in that brain loop of pondering different ideas, and I actually need to just get going on something before the point where I've finished making all of those different connections in my head. And that getting going gives me the momentum that I need to continue working through the questions of the project in my head. So yeah, advice. If you've got a project that you've been avoiding starting, just start, ideally by doing an easy and mostly inconsequential step, just to get the ball rolling. It's prime time, and I am using Valspar Trade Not Block Wood Primer and Undercoat. I'm assuming this is fine for this. I love a priming job because it's not a job that requires really any level of precision. To mix, and then I can get it on here. It's many hours later because I kept getting distracted. But here it is, one sanded and primed cable reel, all ready for the next steps, whatever they may be. And I do think I got some valuable thinking time in today. So I'm gonna go away and carry on with my little design illustration process, and then I'll show you the plan in a few days' time. Okay, so I have been really struggling with my design ideas for this stool, and I still don't think I know what I want the finished piece to really look like, but I do have at least some direction in two key elements of the design for this piece. Those being process, that is, I have a particular technique in mind that I want to incorporate into the making of this, and also concept. I have some idea of a theme or motif that I want to incorporate into this design as well. So first let's talk process. Because this is going to be a fabric-based sewing type project, I was thinking about different fibre techniques that I could use, and ultimately I've decided to try out a whole new one that I've never done before, which is needlepoint. This is a technique that I associate a lot with footstools and cushions and upholstery and things, so I do think it's fitting for this project, and it is also something that I've been wanting to have a go at for a while, so that's going to be fun for me too. I've done some initial exploratory googling, which has given me possibly a false sense of confidence, and I've ordered some needlepoint canvas on eBay, so once that arrives, I'm ready to go. I'm wondering if I'll be able to do the whole top surface of this in the needlepoint. Will that take forever? I'm not sure yet. And now to talk about concept. The idea for this is coming from the place where I found it, which is my old workplace, which happens to be a charity shop that sells secondhand furniture. And it's a place that I hold very near and dear to my heart, so I would really like to commemorate it in some way in this footstool. I used to work a lot on the phones at the charity shop, answering calls from people who want to donate their old mattresses, sofas, footstools even, and I got very accustomed to asking the question, does it have a fire label? Because this is very important for the legal resale of second-hand upholstered furniture. And so often the answer was
no, but it did have one on there when I bought it.
And people are just pulling their fire labels off, which is silly. Don't do that. Keep your fire labels on. But anyway, that's beside the point. Thinking about that made me think it would be funny to have some sort of permanent fire label integrated into the design of this footstool. So basically this is what I'm going with. Needlepoint top, fire label on there, little green outline to match the label. Then we're going to paint this underside bit in some sort of contrasting colour. I'm just going to see what paint I already have available. And then some sort of contrasting fabric skirt going around the outside. I quite like the idea of this being like a little bit old lady-ish, a little bit 1980s. The kind of thing you see at the car boot sale that definitely doesn't have a fire label on and smells like old smoke. I really don't think I've explained that very well. And like I said, I'm not fully convinced myself yet. So keep watching this video to see how this turns out. Maybe totally different by the end of it. For now though, let's remember what I said before, that when I'm in a rut, when I'm overthinking things and I can't make decisions, I just need to start making and see what comes out. So let's do that now. My needlepoint canvas has arrived and it is a really, really good size. It's perfect. I've got more than enough to cover the top of this thing. Like I've mentioned earlier, I've never done needlepoint before and I don't know how long I can viably expect this to take. I think looking at this now and the tightness of this weave is likely to take me longer than originally expected, and that's ignoring the fact that I have to first learn how to do it. There's very little that you can't figure out with the help of YouTube.
Hi there, my name is Ginny. I'm the Director of Education for needlepoint.com. I'm so thrilled that you have decided you would like to learn how to needlepoint. Today, I am going to show you the basics of what you need to know to get started.
Okay, so I've watched about 1 minute's worth of a video and it looks fairly straightforward. It just looks like it's going to be time consuming. I'm going to be using the most basic stitch as per the video I just watched, which is called the continental stitch apparently. It's just diagonal stitches. I suppose that will work. I don't have, I think, any kind of stretcher to do this onto. I'm going to just do my test pieces onto the canvas without stretching it out. And if I think that that's not going to work, I will figure out a stretcher situation later. It's about 10 minutes later and I've done a few little test rows there with this basic stitch and it looks good to me. I appreciate something with a repetitive process. I feel like it's really soothing for the brain. So I do think that this could be a potentially new obsession for me. That being said, I've currently done about 30 stitches total. So who knows if I'll love it after the thousands that this is going to take. So now I know that the stitch is going to work. I'm kind of just wanting to get on with it today. I need to get the design onto the canvas, which I also don't know how I'm going to do that. I suppose I could just draw it on in a Sharpie, but what if you can see it? So I'm just going to draw the outline of the shape of this top with a pencil first to see if that works. Look at that. Pencil does what a pencil's supposed to do. That's what we like. I don't suppose this has to be perfectly neat. I do have to keep in mind that this project's probably not going to turn out seamless and I have to give some leeway to myself, but hopefully I can at least make it passable. Can you see that? I can. That's kind of all that matters. I think if I print the logo out across kind of 2 A4 sheets, then I'll be able to trace them on neatly. It will just be better than if I freehand it. It's always fun waiting for the printer to start printing. I decided I could fit it onto 1 A4 document. I think that's actually about the right size. Why aren't you printing? Are you going to print or... Oh, something's happening. What the hell? The printer is offline. Perfect. Also, it's not necessarily a bad thing that it's pixelated because it will look a bit pixelated in the stitches too. So let's see how this will look size-wise on our thing. So it's going to have a green border about that thick. The rest will be white, then the black box and that. I think I like that scale. Is it a bit weird? No, I think I like it and I'm going to go with it. So let me do some tracing. That's about right. Realise I need to do it straight with the grain, otherwise that's absolutely stupid. If something's 90 degrees, then it needs to be with the grain of the canvas. So let's line up the canvas to this. Yeah, straight along. That makes so much more sense. It's very easy to draw onto, which is great. Making lots of mistakes already, but that is all part of the process of learning something new. And I've always been somebody who learns better by doing. I did see someone online talking about colouring in your canvas or like painting your canvas to match the design that's going on it. But I don't really think I need to do that because I'm doing this with wool relatively thick. I don't think it's likely that you'll be able to see the canvas through it, or at least I hope you can't. It looks okay. I think it's possibly like seems a bit awkwardly small in the middle of the circle at the moment. We'll see. It's an hour or so later and look how far I've gone. I've done this little patch of green. Ideally I would have started on the lettering to make sure that that was going to work, but I don't have the right weight of wool in the black, white or red yet. I only have the green. So I've just been doing this. It's very neat. I think working with this canvas means that it only can be neat, really. I don't think it's pulling too much on the canvas either. So I'm going to carry on with this green for the rest of today, and then tomorrow I'm going to go to the wool shop and buy more wool. So this is the palette. Simple, clean, will go with everything. this is how much I've done so far. So I've only got a little bit left to go, really. I realised that this is how this prayer cushion must have been made, and I'm just thinking of all the different things I can do with this. New craft alert! I've just finished doing the lettering, and here's how it looks. The S's are a bit weird, admittedly, but I actually don't hate that it's imperfect. It looks like the materials it's made of, if that makes sense. Still really enjoying myself. It is the next day, and this is as much as I did yesterday. I think it looks alright. It's very, very slow going, but I'm just going to carry on with more today and see how much I can get done. This is the first day when I've got a full day of stitching available to me, so I can get a better gauge on my speed and efficiency. I'm going on holiday in less than 2 weeks' time, and my hope was to finish this project and have the video up before I go on holiday. But looking at this, I'm not sure whether that's going to be feasible. It's a couple of hours later, and this is the progress. I don't know whether I should have ironed the canvas before starting, and like I said, I don't have a stretcher to use, so I'm just pulling it taut every now and then and hoping for the best, to be honest. Tell me in the comments if this is going to turn out rubbish and if I'm doing it wrong. Say that now I'm at the point of the project where I'm feeling relatively comfortable with the process of actually stitching this thing, but I'm now questioning my design choice. I just don't know if it's going to look rubbish. Hello. But I think regardless of whether this turns out to be the best thing I've ever made, which is obviously highly unlikely because I'm using a new craft for the first time, it's still not going to have been a waste of time because I am learning something new, and I'll keep it whatever it looks like. It will be a memory of a moment in time of me making it, and hopefully it will look good too. I mean, that is still the aim, or good by my standards at least. And I do want to keep hammering home in all of my videos that for the things you're making for yourself, your own standards are the only ones that matter. Other people may have a strong aversion to what you do, and that's totally fine. It's kind of part of the fun, really. It's the next day, and I've been working on this for quite a few hours. It's definitely filling up now. I need to get a red colour for this because the only red wool I have is quite a bit thicker, so I don't think it will work. I don't know whether I think it looks rubbish. It's obviously only one tiny bit of it done so far. But is the scale on this size of thing just like too tiny? I don't know. I've been calming myself down, telling myself that if I finish this middle section and it just looks like a weird size on that, I could always turn this into a cushion cover and do something else on the cable reel. No plans have been made that cannot be adjusted. Just gonna carry on. It's gonna be much of the same thing over and over again until this needlepoint's finished. And this is how far I've got by dinner time. I'm gonna go and make some pasta, and I might do a little bit more on it tonight in bed, but if not, I'm happy-ish with my progress. Still questioning my design, still questioning, but I think I do that when I make anything. And with something like this where the progress is so slow and it slowly comes together, it's really hard to gauge how well it's gonna come out. Hello. It's a new day, and I'm just sat here looking at the progress I've made so far on this needlepoint. I'm really happy with how this itself is turning out. I think it looks decent, but where I'm struggling is it in the context of this cable reel or this footstool. I want it to tie into the fabric that's going on the sides, but it just feels like it's going to be a bit disjointed and disconnected to me. So I'm really unsure about what to do. Thinking about other ways to adapt it, and I do have an idea in mind for how I could still use this in this piece but reconfigure the design to make it work better, have better balance, and just be more the vibe of what I'm wanting. And it is also quicker than needle pointing this whole thing. That is to just finish off this label, so give it a good amount of space around it in the white, and then have that as a swinging label on the footstool instead of being the design on the top. I'm thinking it would be kind of interesting if all of the footstool was in a nondescript 80s, 90s floral fabric, and then it's just got this giant fire label hanging down on the side maybe. I'm unsure. I was thinking, oh, maybe I don't explain all of my possible changes in this video and I just wait until I've made concrete decisions to talk about it at all. But I do want to show my genuine creative process in these videos, and that is rarely straightforward A to B. It's usually way more scatterbrained than that. Today I'm just going to finish all of these bits on and around the label to try and get that all neatened up. Ta-da! Kind of. I just need to do the red flame, but I thought I'd show you. Has done what I was hoping it would do, which is kind of straighten out as it's been filled in. It's still a little bit wonky, but we can live with a little bit wonky in this house. I'm going to finish this flame and then I need to figure out what I'm doing with the back. I have thought that I could do another fully needle pointed back, since it's going to be a label that you can swing both ways. I think it would be fun if it was double-sided, but let me finish this side first before I overcommit once again. I am really struggling to get videos out quickly just because I want what I'm making to be what I want it to be, and that does take time. So I think I need to settle for quality, or supposed quality, I hope quality, over quantity on my channel. Yeah, that's the update. We're nearly done on this bit of it. Not nearly done the project. After I'd finished stitching my label, ta-da! Here she is. I spent some time playing around with it on the cable reel, trying to mock up how my original idea would have looked, and also raiding my linen cupboard, possible fabric options that I could use to bring this thing together. Still feeling unsure and starting to grasp at straws a little bit with this project. I remembered I have this vintage bedspread that I've had for a few years now. I got it from a charity shop. It has a few little stains on it, but nothing noticeable. And I have used it for quite some time on my bed, but to be honest, I don't love the feel of it for my bed. So it'll be nice to use the fabric somewhere else, rather than it just sitting in a cupboard. I don't know if anyone watching is going to be the type of people who get upset when people cut into things like vintage bedspreads, but I do a lot of that type of stuff on my channel. I work in a charity shop, so I see how much stuff like this people perceive as having value or whatever, how much of it is just unwanted and goes to waste. So I'm not going to feel badly about it. And this is a pure white, so it's a much better match for that. It's less jarring. It's also got that like old chintzy look that I was kind of wanting to contrast against this. Also, the central pattern on the bedspread is a circle that just absolutely perfectly fits the top of the cable reel. Then I've just pinned the sides. It's got this scalloped edge, which I think looks really nice at the bottom, and this can be a fully removable cover. It kind of looks like a big elaborately iced cake, and I think I like this with the label. It feels more right to me, even though potentially it looks more wrong to everyone else. I was thinking of ways I could decorate the top. I thought of doing a sad face, but I think I actually want to do more words. I've spoken before about how I like words in decor. I know lots of people hate that and it has bad connotations, but personally I like the inclusion of words. And I was just thinking about how this project's been so up and down in terms of what I was thinking about doing with this, and I think I want to lean into that and kind of ingrain it into the piece itself, so the memory of my indecision can forever be memorialized. And I think I'm going to put words around these circles here saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again. I'm going to use my white wool so that it's relatively subtle. I'll put some of this backing behind it so that it keeps it nice and stiff and doesn't warp it. And I'm going to start on the embroidery of that now. I just cut really rough letters out of paper to figure out the spacing, and I think something along these lines is good. I'm happy with my label now too, that it's trimmed down. I can see more what it's going to look like. I think I'm going to extend the bottom of it a little bit so that it slightly goes onto the floor. I think that's fun. I basically know that I'm using this central panel and then the edges separately, so as long as I do a nice clean cut into it from here, I can still leave the rest of it to cut later once I've got my foam. I don't think this is the kind of fabric that's going to fray easily, which is good news for me.
He signed them because he wanted to get away. He was insistent.
Hello! I got back from holiday yesterday and I wasn't planning on doing filming today, but as it turns out, what I feel like doing is lying in bed doing crafts. So to be able to do that, I need to film a little update for you. I have just lengthened this label front slightly. I've also been tugging it about a bit, trying to get it as even as possible because it is a little bit wonky. And I suppose that's why people use frames for these things. So I may well invest in one of those for the future. But yes, this is the front, and I thought a good thing to do today would be to work on the back of this. So I've made the maybe future me regretting decision to do a whole other panel of the needlepoint on the back because I am really enjoying doing it, and I think maybe I'm lying to myself that the front didn't take as much time as it did and that it's going to be quick and easy to whip this up. But I just think it would be so nice if it is like this front and back. Obviously you won't see the back really ever at all unless you lift it up, but I like little hidden elements and things that you can enjoy if you take the minute to investigate. Also, I'm posting this on YouTube, so some people will be seeing it regardless. So for the back, I'm going to cut out another rectangle of this in the right size, and I think I'm going to continue the back with a mostly white background as well to match the front. That's mainly because I bought quite a lot of the white wool, so I might as well use it up. The design for this, I'm thinking some more words, which you'll see as they get stitched, and also I'm going to put a little BF, I think, in red for my channel name, Beige Flannel. I do sometimes like to add branded labels to the things that I make, kind of like an artist's signature, but also kind of playing into the fact that lots of them are usable objects, so they might be something that would be manufactured and bought, only they're not. They're something that I spend a lot of time making myself. So I think probably it's just that I enjoy congratulating myself by including a little label. I rambled so much then, and I don't know how much of it made sense. I am feeling under some pressure to try and get this video out quickly because the time between my videos is just so long. But I keep picking these long ass projects, and that is really on me, so that makes me feel worse because I'm doing it to myself. But those are things that I can ponder while I stitch. It's the next day and this is what I did yesterday. I decided to try and minimize warping like has happened on this front panel. It made sense to do the frame first to give it some structure. The size all matches up. I counted all the stitches to make sure. So I'm just going to carry on filling this in and then I can stitch them together, make the label and finish my footstool. So yeah, that's today's plan. Oh, also, I'll show you this. I did post this on my Instagram account, which I'm trying to start using properly, but I'm really bad at Instagram. Anyway, when I was on holiday, this is the one souvenir thing that I bought and brought home. A cushion with a dog on it. It just made me laugh. Now on with the stitching. It's been a few hours and this is where I'm up to. I've definitely gotten faster at this now. I've just been doing some bars across in between where the lettering's going to give it a bit more structure. Use them as a line to make sure the letters are straight, because on this one you can see it goes down by one stitch from the A onwards, which is just quite annoying to me. So I wanted to make sure I didn't repeat this mistake again. Continuing. It's basically done, and as you can see, it is pretty wonky, but we're accepting it for who it is. We're going with it, and once it's folded over like a kind of tab, you can't notice that it's wonky so much. Front of it's like this, then you'll lift it up and the other way will be readable this way up too. This bit of grey wool is really annoying to me, and that's on there because I'd written this lettering onto the canvas with a pencil, and there was obviously like pencil bits on it that was being picked up by the wool, so now it has like a grey shadow under the word flammable, which is irritating. The back looks like this. Have sewn over the edges, and then I'm adding this tape over that so that it doesn't fray. I'm going to finish up what I can on this and put it to one side temporarily to move focus back over to my actual footstool. This one's been sleeping in here peacefully until about 5 minutes ago when I came in here to film. She's going to jump down soon, all annoyed. But I have a few updates for you. First one being that I bought some foam yesterday. I got 2 sheets of this 1 inch thick reconstituted foam block. stock. They were £10 each. Before I can start adding it onto the cable reel though, I do need to finish off the paint job. Could have done this before, I don't know why I didn't. At the moment it's just been sanded and primed, and I want to do a coat of wood paint over the top to seal it all in nicely and add some colour. And the colour I'm going for is this, which is the same blue that I used on the window in my toilet, and I'm using it primarily because it's what I have. You're not really going to see much of this paintwork anyway unless you're pulling the tinsel in and out, so it's just going to be a nice hidden pop of colour. And I just realised that this foam is perfect for kneeling on while I paint. So comfy. First coat done, and it's very streaky. 2 coats of blue, and Sunday's found her way back to her chair. Now I just need to let this dry overnight, and then once it is dry, it'll be time to foam. So I started off the next day by chopping myself a disc of the foam. I just used scissors for this, which seemed to work fine because the foam is only 1 inch thick. I didn't worry about doing it too neatly because I knew I could always trim it down later on if needed. It looks like a slice of mouldy ham, which is really grim. I've just put all of my tinsel on it so that I could consider the option of having nothing covering the sides and just the tinsel bare to the elements, but I don't think I like it. I've just cut out 1 circle of the foam so far to test the depth out, and I think it definitely wants to be 2 layers thick. Okay, a short while of pinning later, and I've just pinned it like this so the side panel's actually a bit cropped. And I think I like it because then you get that pop of blue on the base, and also the tag hangs down further so it stands out more. So I think this is the direction to go in. Once that was decided, I could turn my attention back to finishing off the text embroidery that I started earlier in this video on the top of the cover, because that needs finishing before I can sew this thing together. I'm not trying too hard to make this lettering super neat. I actually quite like it a little bit wonky and all over the place. It goes with the theme of what it's saying, I guess, and it also speeds up the process considerably. I'm really ready to finish this project now. It's been dragging on a bit, and I'm ready to get started on my hallway makeover soon. That's the next big project. Once I'm done with this one, lots of things that I make seem to look questionable for a good portion of the making process. So I'm just banking on my ability to bring this all together with the final flourishes. Is today the day that I'm going to finish this bloody footstool? I doubt it, but I really want to finish this project. So I'm going to push on hard today and see if I can get it somewhat constructed so that all I've got left is the finishing details. I finished the embroidery, and I did go for quite a thick, messy-ish stitch, partially for ease and also because I think it blends in well with this kind of textured embossed fabric. A subtle, possibly pointless detail that I spent time doing. I figure I have 2 options for how I'm securing this to this. First one would be to just take this flap and staple gun it around the inside of this. That will mean that the top section is really secure, and then I can add the skirt and details to the sides. But I did like the idea of this being a removable cover so that the cable reel could be used as a little blue table if I want to use it for that instead at any point. So I think I'm going to try and do it so that it will be removable. I need to trim down these pads a little bit because I've cut them quite roughly at the moment. But I think if I sew the skirt around directly onto this piece of fabric, the weight of it will keep it pretty taut, and then I can just add the label into the seam of that. Does it make any sense? I'm still feeling pretty unsure about how this is looking. Like, it just looks like a weird little table with a tablecloth on it. And I've spent so long making it. I think this is definitely the thing that I've spent the most time on in recent history that I've been the least sure about or least pleased with for the time investment that I put in. I'm pretty uncertain about multiple decisions that I've made along the way, and I'm kind of reluctant to put out this video because I feel like if you're putting out a video, there's an expectation that what you make is at least something that you're gonna really enjoy. But I had to remember that not everything I make is gonna be the best thing I've ever made. That is statistically impossible. Some things are going to be average, some things are going to be below average, and that's fine too. I've still enjoyed the process of making this. I just want to finish it up, make it look as cute as it can, get this video out and move on with my bloody life. It's still so cakey. Yeah, this one's been tough, but it's just a footstool at the end of the day. I'm just going to start stitching, and I'm hand sewing this because I always prefer to hand sew things. I don't like getting my sewing machine out. So I'm going to kind of roughly stitch around this so that I've got the cover all in one piece. Then I can tidy up the back and add a lining if I want. And the back of this still needs lining, and I can see if I can add that on as well. And then I'm just going to look at it, because at that point it could be done. Or at that point it could not be done and need something else. I just can't tell yet. It looks so much better already, just roughly sewn like this. It looks like a thing, it looks like a footstool, it's more convincing to me, I'm feeling happier, and I'm gonna carry on. Mostly roughly stitched together now around the sides, and we can see what it's looking like. I did play around with the idea of folding this up and having just like a boxy overhang with this visible. But I do think I like the scalloped edge, even though it looks like a tablecloth. It doesn't matter that it looks like a tablecloth. More wrapping things in more charity shop blankets. Just working on the lining at the moment. Again, we're hand stitching. It's ow. Oh, if I hadn't been.
I think you're still working on who you want to be, and I think my connections with other people just grew stronger.
I'm so happy to report that my footstool cover is finally finished. As you can see, our fire label is now attached to the cover at the side seam, and I've lined the inside of it with this really nice vintage checked woolen fabric which I got from a charity shop. The underside of the cover is also now fully lined, and I used an old woolen blanket for this. This was another lightly stained charity shop buy from a while ago, which is perfect for a job like this. I admit that it was wishful thinking, imagining that this was ever going to end up being machine washable, but it is fully removable as I'd hoped, which means I can always take it off to spot clean it, hand wash it, or I could even send it to the dry cleaners if I was feeling fancy, I guess. I also decided not to attach the foam pads to the top of the reel in any kind of permanent way. They're fine just stacked up loose on here, because once the cover's on, they can't go anywhere anyway. And it means that the whole thing can come off if I ever want to enjoy my now blue cable reel on its own. Now let's get this thing dressed. It does take a little bit wiggling to get it to sit perfectly flat because of the lining inside it, but once it's there, it's there. It does still look quite a lot like a cake, and I am still fine with that. Despite the consistent nagging concerns that have plagued me throughout all stages of this project, now seeing it all put together, I actually think it's really cute. And I think it fits in so well with the rest of the stuff that I've collected and made for this flat so far. I now have a designated place to keep my Christmas tinsel, thank God. And I also have a big comfy footstool that I can rest my feet on at the end of the night, which equals 2 ticks for the 2 goals that I had for this project. I managed to try out a new process in this project, and I can now say, at least somewhat truthfully, that yeah, I needlepoint. I know I could have done some things differently to make this a more polished, finished thing, and I have lots to learn and plenty of room for improvement on the needlepoint front. But despite its imperfections, I'm actually really proud of my slightly wonky, slightly messy fire label. And all in all, I'd say that my thoughts re needlepoint are that it's fun, but it's long. I'm glad that my design ideas changed in the ways that they did throughout the making of this. And I hope that I've been able to explain my thought processes along the way coherently enough that you understand exactly how we ended up here and why. I know I didn't really try to explain how I was actually doing the needlepoint in this video, like showing close-up stitching. Also didn't show too much of the technical process of putting this cover together. And that's mostly just because I'm very much not qualified to be doing tutorials on any of these things. When it comes to arty, crafty things, I'm more of a jack of all trades, master of none, which means I tend to be able to cobble things together somehow, but they're not always going to be of an artisan quality, nor made via methods that I'd necessarily recommend other people follow. To be honest, I don't see myself doing many straightforward tutorial style videos on this channel. I'm just too all over the place when I make things to be able to explain what I'm doing that in depth, and I don't really like making the same things twice. I like doing things once, and I like just having a go at it. I've had some comments from people asking for a tutorial on how I made this pink chair, and to be honest, I made this during the course of one slightly surreal Christmas period over lockdown, and I think I'd struggle to explain exactly how I did it now. I can tell you that it's got an existing chair at its core. There's a broom handle in there, some cardboard, it's wrapped in loads of old duvet stuffing and foam, and then covered in a patchwork of another vintage bedspread from the charity shop. I think blankets and bedspreads are a great material to use for upholstery type projects, and you can usually pick them up pretty cheap secondhand, which is also great. Anyway, basically on this channel, I just want to make the things that I like to make in the shoddy ways that I like to make them. And hopefully along the way, I can also encourage some of the people watching to have a go at making more things for yourselves as well. I think it can be easy to feel a bit frozen by perfectionism or wanting to fully understand what it is that you're doing before you start. But sometimes you just gotta get going and see what comes out. You get bonus points from me for upcycling things you already have, for using secondhand materials, and extra bonus points for making something that has meaning for you, that hopefully you'll keep for a lifetime. My charity shop fire label, motivational quote, tinsel holding, cakey scalloped footstool is the newest addition to my collection, and I'm very pleased to have it. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I'm still finding it pretty incredible that anyone has watched and enjoyed any of my long form content, and it means so much that some of you do. If you haven't already, please consider liking this video, leaving me a comment, or subscribing. That would be great if you did that. There will be more episodes of What Shall I Do With This Thing in the future, as well as more room makeovers and other miscellaneous content too, so don't miss out. Okay, I think I'm done. Bye!